Welcome to the third class in our CSS lectures. Thank you for joining me again. So let's go into what we'll be discussing today. Okay, now quickly, I have a document open here, or a basic document that I think you should be able to do this. It's just a header and this another list, and then I have 3 paragraphs here. So I'll just want to use it in this lecture to explain. So you could quickly create up this document by yourself and just add lorem ipsum at the paragraph. Now let me quickly explain some of the things that we'll be discussing today. Now I want us to know, let me just remove this off here for now. Now one of the things we're discussing today is CSS links, how you can style links in CSS, how you can use links. Okay, so let me just make a link on this. Okay, you see this list now. I could change it to be an inline element. Remember I told us earlier about block level element. Okay, but I could let me just leave it there. So when we get there, I'll explain to us how you could do it better. But let me just try to explain. Let me make it a list, a link rather, and okay, sorry, it should be individual. So if I quickly add this list here and this one, so now let me save up this file, come back to your browser, reload it. You'll notice that it still seems normal. That's because we have not added a reference to this link. Now when you use the href attribute that I told you earlier, you could just use the hashtag. So href again and one more href here. Okay, now that was it. Now you'll notice that it has been defined as a link. Okay, now I just want to do some little styling to this link in case if you want to start you want to start styling up your link. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just define it, show us different forms your link can take. Now you see this is a link. Now if you notice, hovering over it still does nothing, and if I right click on it, you see if I click on it, is in an active state. It has the color changes now, and even if I open it up in a new tab, there is no thing. But if most times you still see, sometimes even after opening it up, you see the color still changes. Now you notice what happened here now, right? So from the blue to the red and then now to the brown color, and that's because basically what it does, so let me zoom it up a bit. Okay, now that's because what it does, because a link has different forms. Now a link, you could use this attribute. Now let me just write some codes here so I could see CSS code. I want to say let's say a link take up the styling of I could just call the color, let's say dark blue. Just so the dark blue color will be okay. So and then when he's just taking the color of dark blue, then a visited link, which is visited, we take the color, let's say color green. Let's say green. And so, and then a hover. So now these things we are doing now, there are different states a link can have. So when we hover over it, when we come around it, it could take different forms. So that is basically how you could define how you want your link to run. So with this now, you notice a difference in it, and let's also add an active state here. Okay, active, So after this, we'll check it out now. Which color should I give it? So let's say orange. And I save up this document, come back and reload. You notice he already has a default color, a color. Now this color I'm giving, this color here, this the color after when it is visited, that's this color, this visited. So let me quickly change this so you'll notice that it changes. What's wrong with my let's just say I want to give it a red color. And let me save this file, come back here and reload it. You notice that, so why is like this? Because it has, remember we clicked on this link once now, and the three of them have one link, so have one which is just the default hashtag. So automatically, for the fact it has opened it up, and what it does is just open up the same document. So in other words, since it has opened up, it's taking this link now as a visited link. Now since it's already a visited link, remember that we said when we hover around it here, which is when we hover around it here, it should give us a hot pink. If you notice the little hot pink effect, I believe you're seeing it, or should I still change the color? Okay, so if you notice the little hot pink effect, or when you click, you see now, notice now when we click on it, it's as if it changes, and it changes to orange. And that is because a link can have different forms. So now this is what we just discussed now, the different forms a link could have. But what if you just say, how about this underline color? I don't know why they always HTML always underlines my my links for me. Please, is there a way I could remove it? Of course, there should be a way. Now let me just quickly show us how you could remove that underline color in case you don't want it. So I could just say, okay, now let me just say that in text decoration, that when is on normal, which is when it's still a link. Now add the text decoration property. So text decoration, I could just say none. Okay, none. None. So when I've done this and I say when it is visited, I still want none. So text decoration none. Hold on with my none. So and then text decoration here, I just want it to be underlined here. So let me just use that underline here, and active should you use underline. Okay, let's use underline as well. Two. So text decoration underline. So now if I save up this file, you come back and reload your tab, you notice that CSS has chased away the underline. Well, if you notice something, when I hover around it, it underlines. Now that is because in other words, you could make different edits in different formats. I just use color basically to explain to us how you could do it. Or I could also say, let me just add when it's still a link, let me say the color is dark blue. The color is okay, let me just use this one visited to show us some of the effects that usually goes on at the background. Now you could just say add a background color of will you say, let's say yellow, and then will yellow be okay? Let me just use, okay, let me use that yellow. After we check it out, and then background color of could we say, let's just say light green, and then a background color of dark blue. After writing dark blue, a color of dark blue. If I save up this file, come back to your link and reload it. I saved it up. Okay, background color. And you notice, okay, the reason why we didn't see that is because I didn't add any background color here. Well, let me just add one background color, and let me just use that. Let me just say purple. Please don't mind color riot here. We're just trying to use it. Can't reload the tab. So now these things, now why you're still taking yellow also is because this link is in. So let me just add a new link so that you notice. Let me just say I want to add a and href, and I want to say give it an hash value and close up these documents, and come over here and close your link. So now if I save it up, now remember we've not clicked on this link. Let me reload our browser. You'll notice, oh, it still has, okay, let me just quickly reference it somewhere. Okay, now if you notice what happened here down, this is because now if these ones are taking the form visited. I've told us earlier, so that's what is open here. And so now if you notice, now these are the effects, cool effects you could make. Can't you see, as we hover around it, and even if you click on it, you still see another effect on it. So that is how you could style your links separately. So links are not to be styled, you could just style separately. But now there's another format. There's a basic thing that people usually do when it comes to how they style their links. Let me just style let's say a realistic link now. All these my examples. So if I want to style a realistic link now, I want to say, I just want to give it like if I'm designing a website now, a link should be able, basically most times it takes two forms. What I mean two forms is that I could combine this, when it is a link and when it is visited, when it's just in the link form and when it's visited, let it take one form, and then if not, please just leave everything for me. So let me just quickly remove this out or comment it out. So I comment this out now, which is this. I'll be that CSS comments. I think it should be. So now when let's say when it's in a link form, comma, and then when it's, remember that in CSS you just use your comma to separate the things you want to join, and when it is, let's say, visited. So when it's visited, you could just say that if you want to give it a value of let me delete this and just add, let's say, one duck, and then I want to give it a color. I want to give the text a color of white. Color of white. White. So now once I'm done with this, and I say I want to give it, remember I told us you could do as much as what you want to do with this. So I could just give it a padding also. Let's say I want to give it a padding of can you suggest a padding to me? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, now let's go to padding and just say I want to give it a padding of, let's just say 14 pixels by 24 for 15 pixels, which is still okay, by just say 24 pixels. Done. So once I've done it this way and I already have a text decoration, I just want to give it, okay, let me leave the display, and then I want to say, okay, that when you have hovered, change the background color. Okay, let me quickly comment this one out also. So with this, I think this should be realistic. So now when it's in the hover state, and when it takes two different states, which is the hover and then the A active, you could just say please help me. Okay, we change the background. Okay, let me just refresh. Let's say I want to retract it. Now what I'll basically do now is I'll just change the background color to that same thing that I it was white here, so I'll just change the background color here to become that same white. Now to become white, now white, and then I want to give it a color of, so I have the same value. I just want to switch over what I did here in the first place, what I did here to be a color, and what I did to be my this. I just want to switch it, and then so I just want to give it a, oh, I think I made a mistake earlier, which is now actually what I meant here. I'll just add a background color, so not just a color. So this was actually what I meant, and then let's quickly change this away. So if I've done this now, and you'll notice that I'm good to go now. So let me just check out my realistic my realistic style. It's too big. Okay, let me do it separately. Why not I just reload it here? Let me zoom it out a bit so you could see. It's still not realistic. Okay, let me add it. I want to add. I just want us to see what these things look like. So if you think for the meantime, I'll have to remove comment out this part of my paragraph. So let me quickly do it in a hurry and let me also comment out this part of my document. So now let's just use it. Now you notice what is happening here. Now you see, as it was the color was white, but when we hover it's now black. But let me also say I want to add another this thing to its effect, and I want to say, let's say the border, and I could just say 2 pixel black, the solid black. So if I save up this file, now notice what will happen here now, and you see that cool effect. We are creating a realistic font now, a realistic style now, and that's basically how you could style your links. So I'd just like you to just go back and start practicing with links. And you know, most times so these links are, you could, no matter how many sites you open at all, the link is not so realistic that you can't practice. But in case you have any question at all, please remember to forward it to my DM. Now let's move over to the next thing we'll be discussing now. Okay, now we'll head over to styling tables. So let me just quickly add up a table here. So just keep ahead. Okay, so I think my table is ready now. Okay, this is the table here. And in case you're asking, you're wondering how we did that magic. You could also do it by yourself. So now this is the table. I could reload it. So I have a grid. Let me zoom in a bit so you could see. So I have a table with people with different grades. Now I just want us to do some basic styling to this table, so you could also practice your table. Now I have a first name, last name, and grade. I think I just love this over button. Okay, let's just go ahead. Now, can't you see? I'm the best in the class, right? So you can find your name and make yourself the best. Okay, now let's just go straight into styling this table now. And if I want to style this table, I want to just say I want to add a table. I remember if I say I want to add a table, and then I also want to style the table header. Remember, it has a table header on top above here, and a table header here. I want to style the 3 of them once, and then the table data, which is the TD. So what I'll quickly do is let's say I'll just add a border property to it. I want to just give it a border of say 2 pixel solid black, the same border of our length. So if you reload this document, you see that it's 2 pixels of solid black, but it's too big. I don't like it how it is. So now, since what you just did here, now let me explain to you what happened here. Remember, you called out the table data, the table header, and the table itself. If I imagine what will happen now. I clear this now and I save this file. Come here and reload. You notice that it's just one. And that is because we styled the whole table as a whole. But what happened earlier was that I give every one of them the table header property. And yeah, but you'll be asking, how come it's looking this messy? Is there any way we could do it? Now, yes, there is a way we could do it. Now, that is why the property comes in, which is called the table collapse. Now, see table collapse. So let me just add. Now you add this property now only to the table, since it's the table that will take that form. Let's say border collapse, and I want to collapse it. It has a value of collapse. How funny. So now can you see now? So now that is because you see in between our lines we have values. Now what if we say, okay, I just want to add maybe the width and the height of this table. Now you could define the width of this table by, let's say, I'm just making a width of 20% to the table. Let's add a width. So width of 50%. Now this is 50% of my screen. Maybe later I'll explain to us about HTML measurements you could use. So if I have a width of 50% and I have a height of, let's say, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, I hope it's okay. If I load, still doesn't look okay for me. Let me just make it 100 pixels. Control S. Okay, now basically the table now will not be able to take a height. You know why? And that's because we've added a specific height. Like this is a table, so I'll show us other way to do it, but you can't expand it. Like which of them will you put for now? But there's a better way to do it now. So let me just quickly remove this height now and add this height only to my table header. So let me just add this height to my table header and like create a table header here. So table header, make it, let's say, control V. And you notice that there is a height property there now. So if I save this document or come back, reload it, you notice how big my table is. Let me just, I want to leave it at 40 pixels. 40 pixels. If you save it, you notice now that is how you could increase your table header. Now the table property also uses the text align property. Text align property is used to basically align where you want it to be, to the center, to the left, or nowhere. But let me just align it to the center now. So if I could align it to the center, but let me just think I will just leave it. So let's just go ahead now. But the thing, if you notice that this particular headings has been aligned to the center by default. Now that is how CSS aligns its headings. So but beyond that, I'll show us other ways you could also do this thing. Now I want to make the table data. Which is this one. I want to give it a height of, let's say, 50 pixels. I think 50 pixels is okay. So let me just add it. Table data and height of 50 pixels. Control X and guide to Control X now. And load it. You notice how big it is. And then remember my screen is too big, so it's looking better here. So let me just leave it this way now. So, and you could also add a padding to this. Remember, I'm just showing us what I'm just basically doing for us is to show the different ways you could style up something. So I understand that there are crash courses online that you could use, but first of all, I just want to explain as much as we can in these lectures to us. So now I could just say I want to give my table data, my table heading a styling table header, comma table data, and I just want to give it a padding of, let's give it a padding of 15 pixels. So if you give it a padding of 15 pixels and then you save it, if you notice here, and you notice how it looks, and then you want to text align it to center. So I want to text align it to center, align it to center. And you notice now that's how you could basically align your table. Now what about horizontal dividers? You just say I don't like these lines in between. I just want it. I don't know if you've been to Excel, there's a horizontal divider, and let me just quickly do it so you could see. And I want to remove that background. Where did I give it here? Okay, I added a border. Okay, yeah, 2 pixel this. So I just want to remove this now. Let me just delete it here and leave it blank for the meantime. Yeah, I could even comment it out. Let me see CSS comments. So once I'm done commenting this, now I want to add this property now to this particular, to the table header alone and to the table data alone. And I could just say I want to give it a value of 1 pixel. Sorry, let's say, and that is the property called, just basically, if you're logical, you should also understand that you are giving it a border bottom, which is that you want the border to have a bottom color. So let's say solid black, or let me give it a fading color, which is, let's say, DDD. If you save this up, now come back and reload it, And if you notice, you see how cool that the table is looking. Now these are ways you could style your table in your CSS. And what if you just say, okay, that I want to hover over, I just want it to be that when I hover over the selector, there will be a background color in it. So now let me just say, okay, I want to hover, and it's going to basically in our table row. Now remember, this is a table row, this is a table row, and if you just say, okay, that after hovering around it, which is this, I just want to give it a value of a background color of let's say F4, F4, F4. And if I save this file up, reload this tab, no, I want it to be only when I hover around it. Why is it forcing me? Okay, now that's because I didn't add this property over. So now you see it. Let me reload this tab. And only if you're noticing something cool, and these are ways you could style your table. Oh, I just love the way the table is looking now, but it could look better. And let's also make it, and let's use a stripe table. You know, if you're into some table here, maybe these places are brown, white places are dark in here. And look at how you could do it. Now that is where it takes a property. There's what we call an end child, a studio class. I told us earlier when we, okay, I don't think I've told us that, but later you'll see this in one of our videos. Now what it takes is, this is an end child. What I did here now, I just declare the table row. I want it to be a row, and then I give it an end child value. End child value means the values of each of the destined, and I use even here means that it will start by, let's say, by 2. I'm not going to even colors now, 1 2, yeah, 2 4 6 8 10, and that's it. So, and I want to give it an even color, and I want to give it by a background of F3. So just say F3, 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 F3. So now since it's this, I've saved it and I reload it. You notice how it is now. So these are the even colors. Even when I hover, it still has that effect, but due to, because you will not notice it much. So now you see how you are styling that table now, making it to look more cool. Now, but what if you want to give it a background color? And you see where all design comes in. So you use your heart. So all these things we are doing now is not a new, they are not new designs. They are still that same old design that you've been doing, but just doing it in a different way. So I want a background color of let's say, okay, let me just give it the background color of green. Save up this file, come back and reload my file. You notice how it looks. And maybe if it's in background color of green, I want the color to be the color should be white. If you studied what color theory well, you notice that the table is looking better now. So these are ways you could add a table. But now there's also a responsive table. What if this table now, maybe as I style this table, and maybe as it gets smaller on browsers, how will I want it to do? Maybe on mobile phone or anything. Imagine this table reached up to this point. Now how will it look on browsers? Now that is where a table property called table overflow comes in. So let me just quickly duplicate this. When we come back to our table, I'll duplicate from here. Maybe you could just add your real value to it. Let me quickly save it up. Control V. So if you notice, I've duplicated it. I want to still duplicate it. Control S now, come back, reload it. Oh, I'm adding more data. I actually wanted to add more this there. Or it's keeping in mind I would have added more rows. But just because of time, you could do it by yourself, but just shows the property you could use to do it. And the property you use to do it is called an overflow X property. An overflow X property mainly just gives, if you set it to auto, it will style it for you by itself. Let me just give us let me write it out here, even though it's not. What you just do is, that's your assignment for this course, add more rows, like yeah, add more rows. So grade colon here, just be adding more rows until you get to a point that maybe the browser can't enter. And when you are done, give it an overflow. Actually you're going to give let's give the table or anything. You can give the table an overflow property of X. Let's say overflow X property. It's also overflow Y, which was what I would have done earlier, but let's just leave it overflow X property and set it to auto. you will see that you will notice the difference. But even at that, let me just try to Ctrl V, Ctrl V, and then let me do that an overflow property, overflow Y. Now you notice that this thing, I've not actually tried this one before actually. And if you notice, there is no change at all. That's because our browser can scroll down. But I know with these values I gave it here now, if it was limited, yeah, what it will do is to create a mini table, a mini what is it called? This scroll bar, yeah, beside the table. So, but you could try it out as your assignment, and that's all. That's all you need to know about CSS tables. I think you learned something here. Yeah. So now let's just move over to the next thing we have today, which is the display. Now, question: what is the display? The display is more, you can call it a, like, it's very important when it comes to CSS. If you don't like this one, maybe you just left it. That means you are leaving your site. So now, what is the display? This display declares how you want your site to look. Remember I told us earlier about block level elements and inline level elements. In case you are not in the last video, you are not in our HTML course, you could go back and take it, or if not, you could just refresh your knowledge on that basically. So now, what a block level element does is that it specifies how an element can be. A block level element, I told us earlier, takes a new line, and if you notice, these things are okay. Now let me now comment out this. So these are our table. We are done with you. So I think you need to go and rest. Just go somewhere and rest now. You don't want to rest again. So table. So this. Now that's it. And then a boy. We are back again. So now, since we are here, if you notice, now this is back. Some of us don't like it. You need to like it too. So since it's back to this point, now I just want to remove some certain things to this. So I'll also style out this. So let me just remove this styling we have here. Okay. Now if you notice, now this paragraph, okay, let me ask you a question. This paragraph, is it a block level element or an inline level element? I presume you guess right. It's a block level element. Now what it means, a block level element? A block level element takes a new line, so I don't need to add my breaking tag, which is BR tag, to move everything to a new line. Let me quickly zoom in for those who are now. So I don't need to add anything to move it to a new line. But remember, an element like span, I want to just span a word. Small for them in my last practice, I told us that span is an inline level element. But let me just show us how you could change displays, or how you could move every other thing to the way you want it to be. Now what if you have a list? Remember we have a list here, though our list was, I cleared it up, so just 3 values, and you change the value of that list to display. Remember that. Let me save it up. Let's see something. Let me see something. So this list now, don't mind the way it is now. If you notice that there are 3 values, right? Now let me just try to change the value to display. I'll add up a list. You know, when I see the codes at time earlier, there are thousands of lines. So but now we're writing 54 line code. That's interesting. So let me just say I want to add a list and a display value of more or less inline. So now if I save this document now, come back and load it, now you notice what is happening here. So automatically it even removes those bullets. Remember the bullets here now? Yeah, they change it, remove it for us, and then give us this value. So you notice now it's looking more like a navigation tab now. Don't know if you understand. So you see we are creating a navigation nav. So now what if you just say, okay, but what if I have an element? Now let me say I just want to add an element here. Maybe this span element. I have a span element inside here. I just want to add let me say I want to give you the value of span. I want to give you a value of display. It should be block. Yes. And if you notice, the span element has moved to a new line. I need to understand what we are doing. Now that is how you could change the display of your element. Now, but you could also make your element, let's say, to display as a like basically even your A element, you could just make every one of them to display as a block level element. Now there's also another property in the display properties called the hidden property. And let me just say I give this span a display of block now, right? Okay, let me change this now. Okay, let me not use this span, let me use a whole paragraph which is para G. So I'll use a whole paragraph which is para G, and so let me just add a para G to this, and if you add a para G and declare the display to be null, so if you save up this file, and you notice how it is now, right? Let me reload it. Okay, it's meant to leave. Okay, now that you see, you notice the different one that we added a class and I didn't add a class in the selector. I don't know if you're noticing all this small change, small effects. Sorry, I'm not saving this file. So if I reload this now, okay. So if I reload this now, you notice that everything has disappeared, which is all our classes, and that's because all our classes have the class of para G. Remember, and don't be obsessed by this. So this is not. I told us earlier that you could these things now. CSS, HTML, or CSS, everything sees this as two different classes, test and para G. So when we declare that para G, it sets the display to null. I don't know if we are together. Yeah, now I believe we are together. So now let's talk about the visibility property. So I'll quickly remove this my display property to null. I'll just leave it here. So I'll save this and please come back. So now I want to declare I want to declare hidden. Now this particular one now, remember, is in between. So let me just show something, and let me use the class test since it doesn't have so let me come back. So now what the class says, I want to give it a visibility of hidden. So if I give it a visibility of hidden now, save up this file, notice that there's this program is still here, right? And let me reload it. You notice that it's no longer here. I don't know if you are noticing something new. So it's no longer here, and that's because I've given it a visibility property of hidden. That is basically you could mess around with your properties in HTML and CSS. Now, and if you notice now, none. Okay, now let me give this thing a. You see that this is hidden, right? But let me change it to none. Oh no, I just want to show something. None. I'll save it up and load it. Sorry. Okay. Now the visibility property now doesn't have a value of none, but I want to let me use display property, which was what we used earlier. So I actually thought I was giving it a display property. So now if I remember that when we give it a display property, actually it was just blank here, right? But yet there was C space here. You can just rewind back to see it. But now, like, I've given it a display property of none. Reload it now. You will see that now it didn't just disappear, but this particular one also moved up and took up that space. Are we together now? So now that is how you're able to structure your site. If you want this particular thing now to disappear, you understand, what you use is display none. But if you want it to still be there, like you want it to just disappear but let that space still be preserved, use a visibility of hidden. So those are the two changes I want us to make. So if you notice now it took back, let me just quickly change it to visibility again to hidden, so you could see it as hidden. So I save up this file, and now you notice, I don't know if you understand now, that's basically what we have to do. So just for me not to make this video long, I'll just show us one more property, which is the max length. Now first of all, I would also want us to inform that stretching a width could take much pause. But let's just go into the example. Okay, now let me give our para G, we cleared area, a width. So the width property is what I want. A width value of, let's say, 800 pixels. 800 pixels. And if I give it this value now, and I say I want to add, now there is a margin property. And what the margin does, let me just give it this value first, and then add a border to it so that we could notice. And I could just say 2 pixel solid red, solid sum red. So if you notice now it has 2 pixel solid red, right? And that's it. Now what if now I'll show us how you could, if you want to add, there's a margin property you could use here. What this margin does is that if you give it a margin property using auto, the browser automatically sets the margin for us. Let me zoom this out and reload this. So you notice earlier it was not necessary, but our 800 pixel, this extended up to this, but now I've come back, so you see it's still at 800 pixels. If I reload this now, which is now that, I don't know if you understand what just happened now. So setting your margin to auto centers it for you, aligns it for you. So I don't know if you have been to all these blog posts that you see this thing at the center and be asking how did they do it. So I'd like you also to be able to replicate this type of thing. Try to just, what I want us to do as an assignment is just basically, nobody will ask it from you, but if you truly want to be accountable, maybe just to give yourself a target or make yourself accountable to someone, just you could submit your assignment to me. You can check out my social media handles on the link in the links in the description. Just send the assignment to me, which is recreate a blog which is very center aligned. I give it a header, a navigation. I know once I navigation there will be a main background, right? So just try to create out something new, but I want you to use all these properties that we have learned in this lecture. So for the meantime, this is where we'll be stopping. I'm so glad to have you join me, and please pardon me for I'm not crashing the course. I'm not doing a crash course. I want us to understand it gradually. That's why it seems it's this lengthy, and I'm taking my time to bring everything together to our understanding. So I think at this point we have to stop. And remember, if you're not subscribe. If you still have, maybe I have other videos that we've uploaded on this site, maybe from the 5 skills you could use as a like 5 skills you need as a student and other things. Please try to share it with your friends and just check out other content also, and make sure you strengthen your muscles by practicing. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.